You're listening to Leisure World Direct. I'm your host, GRF Communications Manager Emma DiMaggio, and I'm here with Senior Director of Facilities Mark Weaver and Interim Executive Director Dave Potter. Hello, guys.
Good morning.
Hello.
Today's topic is the bidding process, so we'll start with you, Mark. Can you explain what a bid is?
Sure. It's a method to receive a specific cost for materials and labors for a scope of work.
Can you give an example of something we might put out to bid?
Sure. Really, any of our major projects, they all go out to bid. But for example, the roofs that we're going to be doing at the library, we sent an RFP out for that request for proposal, and we'll receive bids back from that and then bring those back to committee, and they'll review those and hopefully make a selection and go to the board for approval.
So, Mark, when you say major projects, do we have any criteria that helps define what a major project is?
Well, there's policy that instructs us on how many bids we need to receive for a specific amount of money. For example, anything over $100,000 total cost would require sealed bids and a minimum of 3, at least, requests for proposals sent out.
So a sealed bid, that means that when GRF gets the bid from the contractor that wants the work, it's literally in a sealed envelope, so we, staff, don't get a chance to see it, correct?
Correct.
And those bids are then opened in real time, live, at a meeting with the committee members or the board members or whoever.
Exactly. We request the contractor to provide the sealed bid by a specific date, and then those sealed bids are brought to the committee.
And the point of that, correct me if I'm wrong, is to make sure that staff isn't, say, getting bids in and looking at them and then going to a favored or a preferred vendor and saying, hey, here's your price to beat. You just have to beat this one. It makes it a true blind bid process.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's laid out on the table. Nobody really knows what the costs the contractors provided us until the moment the committee actually sees it.
And we saw that recently on the asphalt slurry project, right?
We
had
did.
A range of about $460, if I'm remembering correctly, to one that was over $800,000, if I'm remembering correctly.
We did, exactly, okay. Yes.
With that large range mentioned, can you explain why two different companies would quote $160,000 versus $800,000 for the same scope of work?
Sure. There's many different aspects that would affect that. Some being contractor might be too busy, and he's just going to throw out a high bid, and if he gets it, he's successful. Some contractors have better relationships with their material suppliers and get better costs. Some contractors don't understand the bids, and they provide a low cost because they missed something, and that usually indicates a red flag, and we take that into consideration.
Can you tell me what the request looks like and how detailed it is?
It's pretty detailed. We have a table of contents that goes out with the request for proposal. It has the scope of work. It has all the rules and regulations. It also has a time and a date that we're going to meet the contractor and go over the scope of work. So that's all included in that package.
So for something like a roof, you might say that you want a certain material used, or you want it to be weatherproof or a certain color?
Yes, the specifications for roofing are pretty detailed, exactly what you're saying. How are we going to apply the material? What material is it? Usually that kind of stuff with that detail comes from a consultant or an engineer.
How do the businesses access our requests for proposals? Assume we're not mailing them out to 1,000 different companies.
Not too long ago, that's exactly what we were doing, but now we do send them out email and digitally. Although there's still some companies that request a copy sent snail mail.
Are outside companies that we don't already have a relationship with, is it easy for them to figure out what kind of projects we're looking at?
Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult with newer contractors, just so that they understand how our operations are here. And we go into detail with the newer contractors and go over all those details at the contractors meeting.
Do projects under $100,000 ever go out to bid?
Always. Yeah, policy dictates anything over $10,000 has a minimum of 2 bids, and from $1 to $10,000 is just 1 bid.
I know that your department primarily deals with bids for facilities projects, but Dave, do other departments also send their projects out to bid?
Sure, we always try to look competitively for pricing wherever, whether it's IT or office supplies or the purchasing department here. We're always on the lookout to maximize the dollar that's being spent by GRF.
I know I hear very frequently in committee meetings, someone will hear a number that they don't like for a certain contract, or maybe someone who's providing a service, or they might think we may be able to get a better price, and they'll say, let's put this out to bid. How does that work?
Well, there's a term in all of our contracts, and there's also clauses that allow us to cancel those contracts. If the contractor's not, complying with the requirements of the contract, we can always send them a letter, cancel the contract, and take that product or service out to bid.
Are there any circumstances where GRF only receives 1 bid, and if they don't like the number or price of that bid, what do we do?
So that's something the committee would discuss. We would look at who we sent the bids out, how many bids did we send out, how many did we get back. If there is only 1 that we got back, the committee has the option of sending it back out to bid if they liked. And they can also accept the bid and send it to the board for approval.
How many bids are we usually getting back on different kinds of projects?
It really varies. I believe on the asphalt bids, we sent out like 9 packets, and we received, I believe, 3 bids back. But it just varies.
Are there any misconceptions that you hear related to the bidding process that you think should be clarified?
That's a good question. There's always things that folks might think play a part, and they don't understand that the contractor maybe didn't understand the bids. Usually, it's affected when there's a wide variance of dollars involved. And like we were talking about just a minute ago, there's all kinds of different reasons why the dollar spread can be so much. So that sometimes gets people's attention.
And we do try to organize for these larger projects in particular. We try to organize basically a bid walk with prospective contractors so that we can try to be sure that everybody's really going to bid apples to apples. And there's an opportunity for 4 or 5 contractors to get together, walk the job, all ask questions, all hear everybody else asking the questions, and get the same information that way. Correct?
Exactly, Dave. Yeah, there's actually a part in the RFP where it states that the bidders conference is mandatory, and if the contractor didn't show up and did give us a bid, that would be called out in the committee meeting so that they knew, hey, that contractor didn't think high enough to come to the meeting. But yeah, that's an important meeting for the contractors to attend, because then they have the opportunity to ask questions, look at the project, and go over all the details.
Do you ever get feedback from contractors that the time you've set is maybe, let's say you want to do an asphalt project in June, and then you do the bidders walk conference? They say, hey, this is our busiest time of year. I'm giving you a heads up that I'm going to give you the I don't want to do this project price.
Oh, yeah. And what we'll do is we'll note that next to the contractor's name and inform the committee, hey, we gave them the opportunity to bid, but they're just too busy.
Has GRF ever changed the time of a project to accommodate more bids?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Committees looked at bids and didn't like the cost that they received back, and asked staff to go back out and either reformulate the scope of work or change the dates and ask for more costs.
This has been Leisure World Direct.